diversity. This is, I've been tweeting about it, I've been talking about it for a very long time. One of my favorite quotes of all time. I have the book on my bookshelf. It's from Mark Twain, From the Innocents Abroad, written in 1869. Travel is fatal to prejudice, bigotry, and narrow-mindedness, and many of our people need it sorely on these accounts. And then, but it's no different today. 1869, that was written. It's 2017, and it seems like Mark Twain could have written that, I don't know, yesterday. Well, speaking of diversity, how do we teach and we write about it from a psychology perspective? Joining me on the phone right now is Dr. Mona Weismark. She's a psychology professor, author of the forthcoming book, The Science of Diversity, founder of the Program Initiative for Global Mental Health Studies at Northwestern University. Dr. Weismark, thanks for coming on the show today.
Thank you very much for inviting me, and that's a great quote.
Honest to goodness, that is like one of my all-time favorite quotes, because what my experience is just like Mark Twain's. I've known people who have like never left the county they grew up in, and I know people who are well-traveled, and the most important thing is meeting and getting to know people from different cultures, and all of a sudden, your prejudices start melting away because you realize people are people, and we all have different things about us. I mean, isn't that kind of part of the core of teaching diversity, is experiencing other people?
Well, Ethan, I actually think it points to something that cannot so easily be outlawed, so to speak, which is our affinity for people who are like ourselves. So even though we might travel or meet other people or try through what I call the command and control approach of outlawing biases, the research shows, 30 years of it, that that's not going to work.
Oh.
And the reason it's not going to work, I think you really hit on it with the Mark Twain quote, because it's part of our biology, and this is science. Just like we need oxygen, or just like we can only bend our arms in one direction, we have very strong emotional ties, partly because of our histories, our memories, our group affinities, and therefore when you have training programs that are trying to outlaw biases, that's not going to work.
Oh, interesting. So this is what this 30 years of research shows. So, you know, we have that ancient part of the brain, the old tribalistic nature, which was to protect us, right? People who are different were suspicious because we had to protect our little tribe, and they may have been up to no good, and that's part of all of that as well. So when you talk about this, Dr. Weismark, what does the research show that actually does work, or is there training or anything that works besides just traveling abroad, like Mark Twain said?
Right. I think that's a great question, and not trying to boast. So I don't want anyone to take my word for it, but actually my teaching fellow, Elizabeth Jacobs, a very gifted Harvard teaching fellow, put together a video of students who have taken our course, The Psychology of Diversity. So it's looking at people around the world who've taken the course and how have they changed when taking the course. Have they, in fact, changed? And you can look at that if you just go to Psychology Today. It's right up there. It's a video presentation of people, Hong Kong, Mexico, United States, and so forth. But to answer your question, what doesn't work is what I said, that control and command. I cannot just say to you, Ethan, just give up all your ties to your background, and I'm introducing you to new people, and this is going to broaden your view. What really needs to happen, and this is what happens in our course, is it has to be a facilitated process. So there's actually 3 kinds of learning going on in the course. One, exactly what you said, because it's international. People are meeting each other from all over the world and getting to know each other, and they're learning how to dialogue. And by dialogue, I don't mean debating. So when you have calls for conversations on race, they usually end up as debates, and people just become more polarized. I mean, Mark is talking about this at Facebook. This is an issue. And so if you just have people come and talk, it's actually going to make things much worse. They're going to become more and more polarized. So what we do is we facilitate this dialogue with each other. We also do this, I should mention, this is a web conference course, so this is online using Zoom, but it's as if we're all sitting there. And then the second learning process that occurs in the class is that each person really introspects and investigates their own position and assumptions and preferences. I prefer the word preferences to bias because, I don't judge you if you like avocados and I don't. We have our preferences.
How dare you, by the way, Dr. Weismark. No, I'm just kidding.
Right. And that happens. People, that's actually a great response, because people will say, how dare you feel
Right.
that way? So, for example, we have Palestinians and Israelis in our class. We have Muslims and Christians. We have Jews and Catholics. So everyone has their own preference and viewpoints. But what happens at the end of the course, and again, please don't believe me, go online and look at this film that Elizabeth Jacobs put together. Students end up reflecting on their own positions and their assumptions and their preferences. And then the third thing is really important, which is missing from all training programs. Students really learn how to evaluate scientific research. So they begin to look at data, and then they apply that kind of thinking to the whole issues of diversity, and that's it. So there are three aspects of it.
So I want to go back for a second. I appreciate that. I just tweeted out a link as well, by the way, to your article in the video, Dr. Weismark. But this is what's happening in America right now is, diversity. So we're going to put on a half-day required training seminar, or maybe it's an hour course that you have to go to. It's almost like sexual harassment. Well, you got to do this 1 hour course, and that you got to check that off the list if you're going to work for our company. But what you're saying is this doesn't work. So, and your process does work, but at the same time, corporations have time and money constraints, right, about their employees. What kind of advice do you have to corporate America when we start talking about diversity?
Well, I would say they should, and by the way, this isn't just me doing this work at the course. I really depend on an international team of teaching fellows, and I think that's actually very important. So we're a team who facilitates this process. And it's not me who's actually saying that what I call the control and command approach of corporations and, companies and so forth doesn't work. Some Harvard researchers analyzed 3 decades of data looking at 800 different U.S. firms. They interviewed hundreds of managers. And they found that what you do, this mandatory come and get rid of your biases, not only does it not work, there's a backlash. People resent it.
Yep.
Which I think is common sense. Most human beings don't like being controlled, taught, or told what to think, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I hear this from people. Trust me, people complain behind closed doors. I hear the complaints of, I had to do the sexual harassment training. I had to do the diversity training. Well, look, this is important. It's a really important topic to me. I think your work is really important. Again, I just tweeted it out to the Psychology Today link, teaching and writing about diversity. Really appreciate meeting you. I hope we have a chance to continue this conversation in the future. Dr. Mona Weismark. Dr. Weismark, thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Ethan. I really appreciate the invitation to talk on the radio. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. Weismark.
Oxford editor Abby Gross uses her superb editing skills on Dr. Weismark's upcoming book, The Science of Diversity.